you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Should customer engagement be a 50-50 thing? In my view, for certain customers, then I think that actually it should be more like 75-25, where the business will actually change its behaviour to suit its bigger, better customers. Because if you have a bigger, better customer, then maybe you want to change your processes because the customer wants you to behave differently. And if you behave differently, of course, you lock that customer in for longer periods of time because your systems integrate, your staff and personnel understand one another, and you end up having a more open and honest relationship. At the other end of the scale, where the supplier is beating its customers, and I won't use supermarkets as a rule here, but fundamentally, if you own the intellectual property rights to manufacture something, so either a food, a recipe, or a piece of technology like an iPhone, then it doesn't matter who makes it for you, you can get it made anywhere. So the manufacturing plant that makes the food or makes the iPhone, iPad is immaterial because the intellectual property to the product rests with the IP holder. In the case of an iPhone is Apple, and in the case of a food recipe could well be Tesco's or Waitrose or one of the big supermarkets. And there it's the manufacturer that gets abused by the retailer. And that's not a good relationship to be in. So there needs to be a little bit of equality in those relationships. So these things are 50-50. We talk about partnerships, the best supplier-customer relationships are partnerships. They're very difficult to build upon. And they're difficult to build upon because most businesses have too many customers. Most businesses have 50, 60, 70,000 customers, of which maybe 10 to 20,000 are worthwhile keeping, and 30,000 could well be disposed of without significantly impacting on the profits or sales revenue for the company. But we seem to have gone out of our way over the last decade to try and attract customers to us like trophies. We brag about the number of customers that we've got. There's a whole conversational piece, as consumers did back 10 years ago. How big's your mortgage? We used to have bragging competitions around dinner parties talking about how big's your mortgage in relation to mine. I mean, just ludicrous conversations. And we do the same with customers now. But the reality is it doesn't matter how many customers you've got, it's how those customers are loyal to you, how long they'll stay with you. Will they let you grow with them? Will they be supportive of you? Both ways. You're supportive of them, they're supportive of you. So customer relationships are very much a 50-50 two-way street. And if they're not, then things become out of kilter too quickly. And in the instances of talking about owning the IP in food manufacturer or electronic equipment manufacturer, the owner of the IP has to be aware that the suppliers are equally part of the food chain or the supply chain to get their products to market. You can't just roll over them and abuse them. It has to be a 50-50 relationship if you're going to get the best out of people. But you can't afford to have a 50-50 relationship with everybody. So you have to choose your customers, and your customers have to choose their suppliers very carefully where those relationships exist. I don't know whether that's going to be possible in a price-driven customer trophy type of market, but certainly the strong relationships tend to exist where suppliers and customers are of equal value to one another.